Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another round of the WRC Creator Series. After last week's endeavours, which saw half of Europe hit out by a power cut, and unfortunately our producer Gareth's home being, well, cut off from the outside world from lack of internet, we find ourselves tonight at Rally Poland as usual, stepping along with the calendar as we always do. In the comms box, my name's Tom Knight, and alongside me, the wonderful John Harris. John, how are you doing, and how are you looking forward to Poland?
Well, first of all, the power's on, which is a good start compared to last week. And in Poland, I think people will be hoping to power to victory anyway. Enough with the puns. We'll have enough time for those afterwards. Poland, very, very tricky location with the four-wheel drive cars here. Lots of aerodynamics to take off on various objects on the side of the road, hopefully not all at the same time. But yeah, this is going to be one that a lot of drivers have been anticipating, one of the favourite locations, it must be said, for most drivers. So they'll be wanting to win this one, that's for sure.
They certainly will do indeed. And we are hearing rumours amongst the grid, let's put it that way, that there is some rain expected in Portugal. So keep an eye out for that, folks. It's been described to me as driving on ice in many forms. And I think our drivers aren't necessarily too keen to get to those particular stages. But we aren't far away from getting in and getting involved in everything that's going on. I think we have got a new name, though, jumping in for the run this afternoon, or at least one new name. Rob G. Barker joins our creators and will be alongside them for the runs on stream this evening.
Yeah, indeed. A driver that's been around for quite a while now. I think first time I met them was on Dirt Rally 2, so they've been, putting in those times for at least a few years now, and they're always upbeat, always got a lot to say, it must be said. So that's always something that we love in the comms box here, and they are a very fast driver as well on their occasion. It remains to be seen whether Poland is their favourite location, but yeah, we've got drivers starting their shakedowns now. And, this shakedown, paradoxically and ironically, is one of the toughest, just in terms of the corners. There's, as you can see, Punju going round the hairpin turn that is in this first sector, and there's a lot of places where you can damage the car. So when doing the shakedown, I'd suggest probably that most drivers should just back off and, one, save the tyres, because there's quite a few stages here, and with the wet conditions, you want... Oh, well, that's not a way to save the car. Punju off in the shakedown, recovered it. Yeah, you do not want to do that. The damage is very, very severe if you bottom out. And yeah, he'll be counting his lucky stars that he did not roll over.
Yeah, two very different techniques between himself and Aerotech, which we saw just a couple of moments ago. See Punju sending it full send. Aerotech, slightly more relaxed way to make it through his shakedown there. Obviously making sure the car does get to the end. And I don't know if Punju's going to go for any repairs today. It doesn't look like he's done anything major, especially on that the front bumper. No visible damage to the minimum. So maybe he got away with it.
Yeah, that can be a double-edged sword. Because, okay, you've got no damage to... Oh, he does have damage. There you go. It'll say go to repairs. So he would have damaged the exhaust, most definitely. Maybe the bodywork. So no, just the exhaust. So when you bottom out mostly on the game, especially if you hit the front, you can get bodywork damage and exhaust damage, which can, if it gets severe enough, reduce the power of the car. But in Poland and mostly in the gravel rallies, it's basically guaranteed that you will get exhaust damage because it's very fragile. It's on the underside of the car, and there's basically no way to protect it and to drive fast at the same time.
Absolutely right. And we got the first runs starting to kick off now, and it will be Punju and Aerotech that lead us away. Of course, Punju opting for the Citroen C3, Aerotech in the Ford Fiesta. So two different car choices straight off the bat. And I wanted to see what the handling difference would be between those two major classes of cars.
Yeah, you got a wide selection now with 4 cars in this class. Obviously, you had the 2 originals, the Fiesta and the Polo, which had diametrically opposed sort of styles, one having a lot of power in the Polo, and the Fiesta having a lot of downforce. Now, the Hyundai and the Citroen are sort of in the middle of that. They've got quite a bit of downforce, but not as much power, and so they can be a little bit more tricky to drive than the 2 original cars, but... you've got to just pick a car that adapts to your driving style or that you can adapt to pretty easily, because you want confidence here with all of the blind crests, with all of the flat out corners. It can be so tricky, and any mistake is going to cost you dearly in this one. So I'd say the Citroen and the Hyundai are very similar in their handling. You've just got to see which one works in your style. I'd say probably the Hyundai the most difficult to drive, just because sometimes the differentials don't give you the grip that you expect, especially in the rain. So with rain on the radar, it might not be the best time to try some experimental stuff.
Absolutely right. And, well, we talked about new faces joining the programme for this afternoon. We've got some new returning favourites as well. Ancephalosis on the left-hand side. Rob there joining us for the first time this evening, just on the right, and choosing both of them to drive in the VW Polo for this evening's endeavours. I think that seems to be a bit of a fan favourite, or driver favourite, amongst a few of our creators at least. It seems to be the most common at the moment.
Yeah, well, long straights, as you can see, with Rob just sat on this great big straight line, and you can get maybe 5 or 10 kilometers per hour more along the straight. So anytime you're going in a straight line, you are gaining time with the Polo. And so it's also a car that understeers a tiny bit, which can be a lot more forgiving if you're sort of maybe a beginner or intermediate driver, or you're not confident in the stages. So that's why it's probably a fan favourite, and the reason why Vlembar and indeed myself have picked it this evening as well, just because that extra stability can be the difference between having a huge crash and having a tiny little off.
Ancephalosis there, just saving the car really well. Just over one of the little jumps, the car started to drift out to the left-hand side, just touched the grass, and did manage to recover that as well. And I think Rob Barker there might have been just a stage ahead of everybody else as well. So you see Aerotech come across the line with a 2-minute 13.9, I think that is.
2:24 I saw there, which is yeah. 2:13.9 for Aerotech.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was reading the wrong screen there. It's Aerotech really going fast on this one. That's a really great time to start off with, and you can see his reaction to that. He is very pleased with that time, and to get a top 10 with so much competitiveness, it's so tricky to do. 500 entries, not including our drivers, on the first stage, which is called Crowbar, which I've always laughed at that name. But there you go. I don't know exactly what it means in Polish, but there you go. It's a good stage.
The best treats.
Indeed they do. Now, hopefully, our competitors won't find that out today, but it is very probable that they will.
I'm sure there may be one or two excursions in towards the forest, hopefully avoiding as many trees as they possibly can. JPH on the left-hand side, narrowly avoiding a tree. Oh my goodness. That could have been a very quick case of the commentator's curse, but alas no, himself and Vlembar still have an opportunity to progress forwards, at least with the 100% of their cast still on, unless we missed any earlier instance.
Yeah, there's so many ways to get it wrong, and in some of the corners there's actually a way to sort of like bail out of the turn. There's quite a few areas where you can just go into a field, maybe get a reset penalty if you're unlucky, but basically you have to choose at some point whether you want to still try and attempt to make the turn, as you saw Vlembar there just making the turn where JPH messed up. But yeah, if you don't decide sooner or later to avoid the trees on the exit, you will just career into them, and so it can be very tricky to sort of make that split-second decision, and that is just the essence of fast rally. You have to just make everything count, and it's a bit like in Formula 1. You have to just have utmost confidence and turn in and hope it sticks. And for Vlembar, it looks like this is a very committed first stage, that's for sure. Let me see if I can get JPH's time. 2:21, so actually 8 seconds down on Aerotech. So Aerotech is really going fast in this first stage.
I think he said he'd done some practice. That's himself and Punju definitely had, as we see Vlembar come across the line 2:11. So I think that could be one of the quickest ride creators as Ryan across the line 2:12.5 in the Citroen as well. So times are looking incredibly close. We've had a 11:12.13 all across the line, and it's certainly looking like a good opening here in Poland.
Yeah, I'd love to give some updates on the times, except my RaceNet page has decided to not cooperate now, so there you go. Good timing right there, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously, starting on such a fast rally, it's good to get a good time on the first stage, but it's more about how you build up to that consistency, how you keep it on the road, because, you know, any big off here, and there's a very high probability of getting a puncture, so even if you're 10 seconds a stage faster, if you end up getting a puncture, it'll be near enough the same times as somebody that's maybe driving it a bit more cautious. So you can see Aerotech here just leaving, you know, half a meter between the outside and inside of the turns, just making sure to keep it on the gravel and keeping it stable. But you can see with just the little corrections he's making, he's still very close to the limit. And oh, just a big off there into a pile of logs. He's recovered it, just bounced off of them, but that was very, very lucky right there. Could have gone so much worse, and I think he's gotten away with that scot-free.
I think he certainly has. No major malfunction to report, at least in the bare minimum, as he does manage to keep the car pointing in the correct direction. Punju with an incredible sense of speed with those triple monitors. I wasn't sure how they'd look on especially some of the courses, but you really get a sense of just how fast that car is travelling as he just gets it around the corner, or so he doesn't, unfortunately. We're being told as well he's upgraded his graphics card to a 5080. So not only are we seeing the size of those monitors, but the graphics output is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he's getting all of the hertz on his screen and getting all of the hertz through the force feedback when he hits the bales of hay. So not necessarily a graphics card upgrade will help you in terms of the driving, but then again, you know, I'm sure we'll be able to track his progress, and there's always a bit of time to adapt to either new screens or indeed, oh, that was a huge snap of oversteer right there. Well caught, well fought, but it looks like he's struggling a little bit with the car at the moment, with a little bit of understeer, I'd say. So yeah, he's going to need all of those frames to make sure that he gets to the end of the stages with no big problems.
Absolutely. Keeping an eye on Ancephallosis and Rob Barker as well. They're making their way through nicely. Ancephallosis absolutely flying. Look at that. It's absolutely incredible. I'm just going to be amazed for probably the next hour and a half how fast some of our creators are really starting to send these cars in the second split stage or special stage, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce that Polish name. The first one, the Pro Buck, was a rather easy one. I think you had that handed to you. I'm not going to attempt Polish because no.
I'm going to attempt it. You know what? Svietanio.
I think that's better than I could ever do, so we'll go with that.
Yeah, it'll be at least 50% accurate. There's an S in it and there's an O at the end, so it's fine.
I think the next one's Kosovo, so that's probably not even that. But hey,
no, Kosovo's a country. Last time I checked, but yeah, for sure, Ancephallosis really, like on the limit through that section. You have to keep it in 5th gear and just pray that the car doesn't understeer. And so one of the problems the drivers are going to cope with today is just the tires. They've only got 3 sets of tires on the gravel surface, and the tire wear here is actually quite high, or it feels like it's really high. It doesn't necessarily show it in the game's menus, but you know, we haven't got percentage indicators like you have in F1, but you know, they're going to be struggling to keep a set of medium tires alive for the 4 or 6 stages that they need to do on them realistically, and especially in wet weather with all of that wheel spin, you can really chew through a set of tires in maybe 2 or 3 stages. So there's going to be a compromise today in just they're going to have to pick 1 or 2 stages where they are off the pace, and it's whether they want to do it. Oh, well, that's one way to be off of the pace, just clipping the bank and, yeah, getting spun around. There are many ridges, very reminiscent of New Zealand in Dirt Rally 2, where you can just clip the side of the road and it will spin you around. So you can take some liberties, but it will catch you out eventually.
Absolutely right, and I mean, fingers crossed that they add New Zealand in the next up. Oh no. Moving on, JPH in the top right of the screen alongside Vlembar in the top left, and they're progressing through quite nicely. Vlembar still looks so under control, going at about 130, 150 kilometers an hour. Bear in mind, everyone else here is on a wheel. Vlembar still rides on a controller, and sometimes looks to have more control of the sum of our wheel. Ancephallosis had a bit of an off there in the bottom left-hand side of your screens, but has since recovered and got that VW Polo driving once again.
Yeah, going to the controller thing, actually, it's a very interesting thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is a bit like in the Formula One games. There's I don't want to call it an assist, but like a driver like aid, I guess, to help the car turn in. It does a calculation of what the optimal steering angle should be, approximately, and so you don't get full lock straight away. And so where you can see Vlembar here, the wheel is moving progressively. It's not just snapping immediately to full lock. And that means that sometimes in an understeery situation, for example, with the Polo that he's driving, he can actually get more turn-in sometimes than with a wheel. It's not consistent. It's not going to be a huge amount of time gain or time loss. But in certain situations, like for example in the rain, it can be beneficial to just give you that little bit more confidence to go for it. Now, there's a ton of compromises in addition to that, for example, traction with the brakes and on acceleration. But in terms of turning, it can be second to none at some points.
Well, we'll see, especially as the rain is expected to fall in Poland, and we'll see how Vlembar does try and encapsulate that car as well. JPH on the wheel, on the other hand, flying over the hills and narrowly avoiding trees on his inside. Rob's gone full screen for the first time as he's approaching the end of what I can only imagine to be stage 2 here.
We are checking. No, RaceNet's still not cooperating with me, so that's good. Yeah, I'm gonna assume that it's the end of stage 2. Yeah, it's a very very long stage, so that 8 minutes time would be representative of that. Yeah, it's one of those things where some of the drivers just start maybe a minute sooner than others, and so we're getting to the end at different times. Obviously, the pace is probably going to be quite different between the drivers, just because any little correction or mistake is going to cost you so much more time. You're talking about if you lift off, you're already losing 1 or 2 seconds. So if you add that up throughout the stage, as you can see, this flat out section with Aerotech and Punju, ideally you want to keep it flat to the floor for about 20 to 30 seconds through all of this section, and we'll be listening, looking to see whether they lift or not. It looks like Punju is going flat out here onto a tarmac section, round the tree, not through the tree, as I found out in practice, and then braking down on a very tough tarmac section and hopefully not missing the turn-in. Punju's just missed it, and he's got stuck on the bank on the outside to that field. So very, very tricky. Can Aerotech get it nailed down? Looks like it is the case. Yeah, getting it stopped and turned in very nicely. But see, a mistake like that can cost you easily 1 or 2 seconds.
Certainly can, and Punji got very lucky there. Not only as he was straddling the banking on the outside, managed to get the car going. Because sometimes we see, especially on the higher bankings, the cars can get a little bit stuck as the underbody of the car just rests almost like a seesaw on that banking. And it can be incredibly difficult for the cars, both in a rally format, but of course in an open wheeler format as well, for the cars to actually get enough traction to be able to dislodge themselves.
Yeah, the banking's very, very high on some of these sides of roads, and so it is entirely possible to need to get help from the spectators, reset the car, and it's happened many, many times in the actual rallies that they just get stuck on the side of the road in a ditch. Aerotech coming across the line. Looks like a good time from Aerotech once again. I'll have to... I think that's another top 10 time from Aerotech, really? Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it is.
I'm assuming that means your RaceNet is working once again.
It's coming and going.
Okay.
It's deciding when it wants to work, and then as long as I don't click anything else, it decides to carry on working.
I think that's a fair assumption. I mean, I wish it was that like that. If we rocked up for work one day and I just decided I don't want to go here today, I'm going to go home, not work. And well, we're going to hopefully get a few drivers in for a chat in just a brief few moments, obviously, as everybody else starts to finalise up and finish up their runs as well, just to get an update and a status of how the first few runs have gone.
Yeah, looks like Aerotech is really doing well on this these first 2 opening stages. That top 20 time wasn't quite a top 10 again. As it looks like we're getting Punju in for an interview as Ancephalosis goes for a quick 180 reverse Tony Hawk donut. Punju, hello there. Hope you can hear us. That was pretty gnarly on the first 2 stages. Quite a few, times where you had to control the car very, very precisely through the turns. How's it going? How's the car feeling?
Going great. Car feels amazing, actually. I love this car, dude. This is so fun. This is like what I wish all rally cars would always feel like. So I'm feeling very much so at home. As I don't know if you've told the broadcast yet, but today my handbrake just randomly broke before stream. So I'm driving without a handbrake today. So I'm using the paddles as my handbrake. And it's almost easier. I just like click it and it just boom, clicks me out what I want to instead of having to make the pull. So yeah, it's kind of interesting for sure. But having to recalibrate how I drive it, but really fun. Really fun.
Yeah, certainly. Sorry, apologies there. I was a little bit away with the fairies. And obviously, we've seen your new setup, the new screens that you're racing on as well. We've been told you've upgraded some of the hardware as well. How does it feel driving with those massive monitors? You must feel some true immersion.
Yeah, no, I'm locked in for sure. It is pretty nuts. Today, I did one last little move, and I kind of moved the steering wheel down a little bit, so it feels more like it's acting the steering column where it deserves to be. And it honestly just feels really good. It's so ridiculous how cool this is. You're like locked into the cockpit, man. It's a wild experience, and I'm glad that the viewers are enjoying it too.
You're repeating the words "locked in" a lot now. I looked at your Instagram earlier on. Are you going to do the same incident in the rain?
I'm locked in, not locking up. It's a little different, Those are great time for me to post that today, isn't it? Yeah, no, none of that today. Just locked in, no lockup.
How is your confidence in the rain then? That's a serious question.
As you can see, that clip that you saw was actually in the rain, so I have no idea. I literally have not done a single bit of practice for this week, so I'm going in blind. And for me to just do 30th place in that last stage, I'm like, for a blind run, it's pretty dang good. So we'll see what happens in the rain. I think it'll be all right though. It's just drive a little slower and have a little more fun. A little slower, a little more sideways.
That's always the way you got to go about it sometimes, and maybe sometimes with a bit of a hope and a prayer as well.
Oh, well, that's every day. Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing stuff. Well, we'll leave you to your next few runs. Best of luck with it, and
thank you.
We'll be doing a rain dance for you.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. See you guys.
See you later, Punji. Amazing stuff. Those monitors, I'm still going to mention it again because it is fascinating to see. Those monitors are just incredible.
The immersion, it's just lovely.
Yeah, I think we're going to have. I think we are going to have someone else in for a chat. I missed quite a thing. We're going to have the man whose name I couldn't pronounce for the first time. The show Ancephalosis in for a bit of a chat. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I got my toaster strudel in me. Got my breakfast in me. The rally's off to a good start.
I made these explanation as a Brit. What is a toaster strudel?
Ah, yes. I've had the pleasure of explaining this to Strudel as well from Germany. Given his name, Strudel, I asked him if he ever had a toaster strudel. He said, "Of course not." I don't know. It's a frozen thing you can get in the States. It's just a little pastry, a little rectangle. You can pop it in the toaster oven. It's got a nice flaky crust. I just finished mine, or I'd show you. And then it comes with a little icing packet. It's got some fruit filling on the inside. Classic breakfast.
I'm intrigued, but enough about breakfast choices. How was the rally going for you so far?
Rally is off to a good start. I haven't had a ton of Poland practice. Actually, I had 0 this week, but I think we've done Poland before when it was first released. And I've run a few stages here and there. So I'm definitely remembering some of the things that come up, but I'm also getting tricked by some of the tricks that I haven't seen in a little bit. So I'm trying to be a little bit cautious, trying to drive at that 90, 95% range. And it paid off really well on the first stage. It paid off really well on the first stage. P20 something, which I was shocked with. Like P20. But this one we did have a few spins, so we were down in 89. So yeah, I don't know. Off to a good start. I've heard a lot of people had issues over the course of the rally, so I think if we can keep it to just a few spins, I'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the weather and the trickiness of these stages. Have you gone for a bold tire choice strategy, or are you keeping it quite simple?
No, I don't think any tricks this week. I think just a simple medium, soft. I think Blumbarth said he was going 6 and then 4, but you could also go 4 and 4. Or Oh, or I don't know if you have to stretch the softs. Obviously, it doesn't make sense that you can just skip 2 stages, but I don't know. I'll have to take a closer look at that and see what other guys are doing, but definitely going to go for the safest tire strategy that there is. And for the rain, also, yeah, just play it safe. My version of safe.
I think sometimes even in the rainy conditions, there is never a true safe. And we're watching on the main broadcast, Aerotech at least attempting the start of it now. And what if you had to have one maybe? I'm going to ask a bit of a weird question. If you could have one Mario Kart style power up for this next few stages, what would you be going with?
Ooh. I am gonna take the what's it called? The star, the invincibility star is how I think of it. The one that I'll take that one because I do expect a few bonks off of some ledges. Hopefully none of those like I know there's some like corners of fences. I actually terminaled in practice. In my short hour of practice, I managed to terminal on a corner of a fence and bonk into some poor person's house as well. So hopefully don't damage any houses or fences today. So that being said, if I do, I'll take my my Super Mario Star with me, and hopefully the car will be okay.
I just want to point out, and I'll give as a final jest to you. Sorry, TK, for interrupting there. I've just been watching as you've been commentators cursing both Aerotech and Punju as they've been nearly DNFing into trees while you were speaking about you need the invincibility or invulnerability of the star. Maybe they need it too.
Okay, yeah. Well, I hope everybody can grab one at some point in the stage. If they see it out on the track, definitely snag it. It'll come in handy today.
Oh, amazing stuff. Well, best of luck, Anzaphallosis. Good luck on the stages, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you just a little bit later on as well.
Thank you very much. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, we've just seen Aerotech at least get to the end of his stage, and I think he'll be very thankful for that. And Rob G. Barker coming up towards the finish line as well. Quite a few members from his community up in the Twitch chat as well. And we're just going to have a quick check and see who's come along and said hello this afternoon. Kieran McGinley, Kel Baritri, I'm going to get these names completely wrong, Vikstrom, Mr. Gareth Allen TV, we've got Kua Vodka, Alfredo, Team BMW, Craigo Buzz, Daniel saying hello from Germany, and Stevo coming in and saying good morning from Western Australia.
Got to give a shout out to Kua Vodka on Twitch, but his username in game is Mehuyane, and he is leading the Trader Series runs in Poland today, overall on the leaderboard. So a very, very rapid pace. I think 30 seconds faster overall than anyone else so far. So it remains to be seen whether anybody can beat those times. As Vlembar having a really big off, or nearly off, exactly where JPH is going through now. Basically, where JPH was still going straight, Vlembar was doing a reverse entry, having tapped the barrier on the left. Oh, JPH nearly getting into the trees. So tricky as they approach the first of the rainy stages, if I remember correctly, or it might be the second one at this point. But yeah, they're just into it, and the tires are really wearing fast. And you know, at this stage, they really want to pay close attention to, you know, how much grip they have, maybe adjusting the driving style. And I think they would need that magic star to get them to the finish line with great success. Where Punju was all the way sideways, drifting towards a lamppost, which JPH is going to come towards. And I think, Vlembar's at the same section here. So you go over a crest, hopefully flat out, although a little bit of a lift is good. Over a few bumps, and here Punju got it well, gloriously wrong, let's put it that way. And he nearly crashed into that electric pole on the inside of those turns next to the house, and so got very, very lucky there. But, you know, you have to ride your luck a little bit in Poland, and there's a few drivers certainly doing that today.
Absolutely right. If anyone's in chat and can edit to a fairly basic degree, can you just take Anzaphallosis' run that he's doing at the moment, put it into some video editing software, and just put the rainbow effect and the music over the top there. Just do that. That'd be funny. I want to see it. But we're progressing on. Vlembar comes up towards the line, as does JPH, to finish off their rainy sectors, or the rainy stages, should I say. I think they'll be relieved to have at least got to the end rather safely, or at least got home nonetheless. Ryan's done a top 10 time there. in the third stage, so that looks incredible for him.
Ryan has been doing huge stage time. Stage 1, I think he was like 5th fastest, just behind Vlembar. Vlembar P3 right there. So Ryan, I think, has actually been in, and Vlembar as well, have been in the top 10 every single stage so far. And JPH into the top 5 there as well. So there is a genuine battle today for that podium. That's exciting to watch.
Certainly going to be interesting to see how we progress through, especially with a lot of stages still to complete. A lot of them are fast stages as well. Let's not underwrite that. Antephalosis, the start button to be able to save him, just recovers it. And that grass, I think he'll be very thankful that isn't something worse, like a pile of logs in Poland.
Yeah, that was so lucky. I mean, you almost want to take the cutting penalty just to straighten out the car there. You don't want to be going sideways over the jumps, but it looks like he's maybe cooked his tyres a little bit in this stage, and that's not good news when the next stage is an 18-kilometer stage. So you're going to have to put all caution to the wind at that point. And I think we have Aerotech and Punju on just about the same section. Aerotech is a couple of corners ahead, at least according to my calculations, but they are on the same section, and they'll be wanting to carry as much speed through here. Now, obviously, visibility a problem if you're in car, because the rainfall is quite heavy, and so it makes spotting those apexes, turning in at the right place, and indeed spotting, more importantly, the braking zones, so much more difficult. So I think we might see a few drivers err on the side of caution, but this is also the time in rally where you can make up the most time by pushing the limit, by not having the fear that the other drivers have, but it can also go oh so wrong, oh so fast.
It certainly can, especially when you see the puddles on the road surface just ahead of our drivers. It's sometimes a little bit distracting or daunting. You think you've seen something that you haven't, and you almost go to react to it instinctively, and then realise, oh wait, that's not where I'm supposed to turn in, or I've turned in too late. And sometimes these things really start to add up, especially if you do them one after another, and that's when the mistakes kind of pile on to your time and efforts.
Yeah, you can also use them to your advantage if you can get the turn in. Oh, Punju's got stuck in the ditch. Can he get it out? Yes, he can. It flattens out afterwards, but yeah, time lost there, and possibly some damage to the underside of the car as well. So no Venturi tunnels on these cars, so that's good news at least, but the exhaust can be damaged, however. So yeah, very, very tricky, but braking for the turns, like, it's so difficult because you just lock a tire and then there's nothing you can do about it. Even if you ease off the brakes, you still have no grip. The mud just clings to the tire, and you're just basically racing with a slick from there on out. So yeah, Punju all over the place at the moment, taking all of the lines, although we'll admit that's a pretty good one right there if you can keep the power down. So yeah, the four-wheel drive system is working overtime today.
It certainly is, managing to recover him out of the most treacherous conditions. Beautiful turn to the right there as he just drifts around a hay bale, and we have been told by our producer in the background, they seem to be magnetic this afternoon, a new feature that's been added, at least for a few of our drivers. They seem to be rather attracted to crashing into them, as Aerotech does a very similar move, getting past as well. But I'm fairly sure we saw Aerotech ahead when we first jumped onto them. So that means Punju must have made up some serious time.
Yeah, I'll try and keep a check for a time that I can keep note of here. So into the chicane, 3:45, let's call it, for Punju. Let's see what Aerotech's time is like. Just over the crest, and then he'll turn right and then left into the chicane. So yeah, Aerotech behind now, although if Punju does that, not straight off, can he recover? That's a big off there, no big damage, thank God for that. The bush sort of slowing his approach to that tree, but clipping the hay bale on the inside as well. He's got more than half the stage, well, just over half the stage to go, so you know, he needs to get that confidence back, and that will be so tricky. So I didn't really catch Aerotech's time in all of that. Oh, he's gone the wrong side of the fence. He's missed the braking zone, and on that tarmac, he's going to have to go all the way back and hopefully find a way through. There we go, jostling through the barrier. A very easy mistake to make, and also very tricky because there's two lakes on the outside and inside of those turns. So if you go more than a meter or two off the track, you will get reset back to track, or you'll have an early afternoon bath, which is not what our drivers want today.
Certainly not. JPH almost lost the rear end of the car as well, but did manage to recover the Citroen, looking rather responsive to the inputs that he has put in, and so far looking nice and calm. Of course, 18 kilometres is an almighty amount of distance for our drivers to have to focus, especially at the high speeds and the caliber of racing that we're seeing this afternoon.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody's having to put in 110%. I think the pace of the drivers has gone up once again. You've got so many people now fighting at the front. JPH really getting used to that Logitech wheel now, the direct drive wheel. I forget the name of it. So he's taken some time to the Pro wheel. It's a good name for a wheel, to be fair.
Yeah.
But then again, I think every single company uses that name in their lineup, so it's kind of like the word that you have to put in to be taken seriously. But yeah, he's taken quite a while to get used to it. But now he's really getting into the rhythm. Ryan as well, Ryan L83, really adapting well to these cars, taking sort of the racing lines that you have to. And as a circuit racer, he is well versed in doing that. So his pace here is really good. And then you've got the regulars of Vlembar, maybe myself. We'll gloss over that. But yeah, there's quite a few drivers that can really possibly go for the win in this one. And in practice, the times were within a few tenths of a second for each driver.
Absolutely, and going back to what you were mentioning about JPH, where he's just getting used to the new wheel, the new system. Even if you've gone from direct drive to direct drive before, it's all about the nuances of the individual systems, because they each have individual ones, they each have like individual quirks, let's put it that way, that you have to sometimes not necessarily adapt the way you drive, but adapt the way you handle the system and the preferences you put into it. And I think at the moment he has started to find those out, or is finalising the approach that he's managing to make on this. I remember back when I got my direct drive only a couple of months ago now, I stupidly agreed to do a 12-hour endurance race on it, and I was so out of my depth. Even though I'd done good lap times on my old wheel, I just hadn't got used to the new system yet.
Yeah, there's so many things to tweak, especially in Rally. Vlembar, I thought he was getting trouble there off camber corner, but he managed to get the car turned in. I think he's dialed in quite a bit of oversteer. Oh, JPH is going to do the exact same thing as Punju. Nearly flips it over the barrier. He just managed to get it corrected and slowed down in time, but that was very close right there. But yeah, the direct drive wheels, obviously it's a big step up in performance. I remember going from a very old wheel to a direct drive wheel, and yeah, the difference and the amount of time it took me to get used to it, and to also not break my thumbs when crashing into a tree, which I've done paradoxically many times at this point. It can take a lot of getting used to, and in Rally the subtlety is there. You need all of the force feedback you can, because it's all in the little details of grip where you can find a tenth or two, and you know, so our drivers need to be well versed with their setups, and changing it like he did mid-season was a very bold move to make, and that was paying off.
Certainly is. He managed to get back on the pace, and speaking of direct drives and thumbs, I think someone needs to give that guy Vince a call, if you can remember. Just a few races ago, unfortunately did succumb to not a rather nasty injury, but an injury nonetheless, and did put him out for a week. I think it was at Monaco from what I remember. JPH, oh my goodness! Beautifully, well, I was going to say beautifully recovered from the 180.
He's behind the barrier now.
The fence. That almost could have been a beautiful moment for about half a second.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know why I said Punju for a minute. I think I just panicked, said Punju. But there you go. You know, it's there's a good meme about that, but anyway, we'll gloss over it. Yeah, JPH just going for the send over the crest and just way offline. I think he got a kick of oversteer and was trying to correct it, and that's the danger of going 110% over the jumps. And yeah, it was a brilliant save, brilliant recovery, but the fence said no.
And did indeed say no. High jump record achieved though for Poland. It set at about, I reckon, about 65, 70 centimetres is probably how tall that fence is. No, probably about 100 centimetres tall that fence is. So JPH holds the high jump record for all of our drivers at the moment, at least over an obstacle, as Punju comes across the line, as does Aerotech, to finish off, I believe, the longest stage here at the moment.
Yeah, 9 minutes. So in time length, it will be the longest stages of today. That's just because of the rain.
Yes, of course. And keeping an eye on Vlembar and JPH, they're not far away from the finish line as well. And I'm sure they'll be counting their chickens or praying to whatever is up above that they come to the end successfully.
Yeah, those 18 kilometers, they do make you think a little bit and concentrate. I think we can get Aerotech maybe in for a little bit of an interview. Let's see if we can. Aerotech, hopefully you can hear us. That 18 kilometers really making you question things. How did it go? It looked like it was okay, but quite a few drivers having a few little incidents in there.
Yeah, so the rain is a lot worse than you think it is. It really affects the car, especially Poland's a rally where like it seems to keep egging you on to go faster and faster and faster. As soon as it gets heavy rain and the stages start to get like soaked, you have to back right off, and it's just kind of counterintuitive. And a lot of these mid-speed corners, when the front end starts to wash out, you're kind of just a passenger. So we had an issue on the last stage, unfortunately. Lost 10 seconds there, but I knew that these next 5 stages or so, it's going to dry out a bit sooner than that, but these next 5 stages are going to be really, really important to the rally. So just trying to stay alive, make good time while we can, and keep all 4 on the dirt.
A lot of people mentioning the tires this week. Do you think you can keep them in good condition and keep pushing?
Usually that's something I'm pretty good at, yeah. I did a test run on the rally last night. I didn't really have any tire issues other than, you know, with the rain, but it definitely gets a little slippy. And again, with a rally that's so committed, you kind of need to know where your car is mechanically before you start, you know, sending it flat into 4s and hoping that the car sticks. So usually that's something I'm pretty good at, though. So I'm hoping that that could give us some positions towards the end, too.
Yeah, it's looked positive for quite a few of our drivers heading through. The rain's looked rather tricky. We've seen a few drivers have, well, let's say, a few treacherous offs as well. I think we saw a couple of moments where the rear end might have been a bit twitchy, but you were looking fairly solid all the way through.
Yeah, I have a thank you to the Ryan L83 setup shop for helping us out with the Ford Fiesta. I switched from the Polo just because I assumed, actually my minimal testing that I did too, the Polo's got more speed, but this is such like a mid-speed rally that I'm hoping that extra 15 horsepower doesn't play a factor in the end, and then the lighter, more nimble Ford, I could, you know, maneuver it a bit better, especially here in the rain. But it seems pretty good. I just have the brake bias set really far back because I like to rotate it on the foot brake without having to use the handbrake. It catches me out a lot, especially when you panic brake and you have any kind of steering input in the car. The rear end just wants to come around, but it's too good everywhere else to try make a significant change. Actually, I am going to up the brake pressure now that I'm out talking about it. It's been good so far. My first 2 stages, I can't believe how well those went. So, we're just trying to survive until we get back to dry conditions. We're not as fast as some of these guys on the wet. I know the number 1 in the rally right now is way ahead of everybody in these wet conditions. So we'll have to see where we end up on the other side here.
And on that jinx by Aerotech for himself, I think we'll leave you to it and wish you the best of luck for the next stages.
Thanks, fellas. It's I'm top 15 in points right now. I've not been this high in creator points ever, so I'm just trying to like not do anything stupid and not blow up my entire rally, which it's gonna happen right now if it's gonna happen. So, fingers crossed.
That's way too many jinxes. Good luck.
Yeah,
It's listen. If I accept the evil into my heart, maybe it will not hurt me. Maybe.
It's a bold strategy, Colin. Let's see how it pays off for him. Well, Eric, it's been a pleasure to chat to you as well. We'll let you hop on with the rest of your stages. I'm sure we'll catch up with you a little bit later on as well, bud.
Thanks, Phyllis.
Thank you so much. Well, it's looked positive as we make our way through all the runs. We've got another interview coming straight back to back, as we have got our first, new guest on the show this week. We've got Rob G. Barker on. Rob, how are you finding the rally so far?
Yeah, not too bad so far. Struggled a little bit in the later stages. I went for the soft tyre, took a bit of a gamble. The wet was not good. But target's top 100, well within top 100, so happy so far.
So what's the main sort of difficulty of this rally for you? We've had a lot of talk about the tyres, the weather conditions, the speed of the rally. What sets it apart for you?
It's Poland. It's there's not much room for error. The speeds that you're traveling, one mistake, that's it, rally's over. So I am driving on the air of caution a little bit. I have no expectations to be up the top of the leaderboards, that's for sure. So yeah, just driving realistically within my sort of, what you want to call it, within my limits, I guess. A little bit reserved, try and get to the end.
looking ahead kind of towards the end of the rally, what are we expecting? Are we having rain all the way through? I think we knew rain was coming. What's the end of the rally looking like?
I think the weather picks up. Weather picks up a little bit later, a couple more stages. There's a couple more wet stages, and then it picks up a little bit. Get back on the soft tyre for the end, and see if we can get some late rally places. We'll see.
I like that optimism, TK.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the right attitude to have, and hopefully, from your perspective, there might be a few drivers that fall foul to the conditions. It's certainly looking like there's some people taking quite a few risks out there. So, calm and consistent, your way of doing it, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. Just get to the end, get a finish. A finish is better than sticking it into a tree.
My
Very,
speciality,
very
TK.
and mine, it appears, when I've run these in the past.
And on that commentator's bombshell.
We'll let you
I
hop
guess
on with the rest of the stages, Rob. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll
Cheers,
catch up with
guys.
you a little bit, bud.
We're jinxing ourselves today, TK,
Yeah.
and we're not even driving the event yet.
Well, I've said to Gareth that hopefully I want to try and drive one of these at some point. I don't think I'm going to get it in before the end of the season, unfortunately, but who knows? If another season comes around, I want at least one more attempt at making up for the poor display that was the Central European Rally.
Well, I think we've got JPH in here for an interview as well. I hope he can hear us. Yep. How is it going so far? We saw a few moments where it was a little bit over the edge there. So, after you came back from the Canary Islands rally, it's you want to take that speed into this rally, don't you?
I'd rather just survive this rally. I've never had a good record at Poland, so I think the repair bill is going to be quite high for this event. But yeah, I mean, coming back from Canary Islands, it's just nice to go back rallying again. Really, I mean, after seeing it in real life again, it's just nice to be driving.
Certainly has. And talk us through how the rally's gone for yourself at the moment. Of course, we've seen dry, we've seen rain, and as we were speaking to Rob just a few moments ago, we're expecting to see dry conditions come back towards us for the final runs. And how are you looking?
Well, the car's still running, so I'd say that's a bonus. Generally speaking, it's not been too bad. It's just been a bit of lack of knowledge and a bit of lack of practice, really, for the week sort of leading up to it. As I said, Poland isn't a strong one for me anyway. Just I can't buy a clean run around this place most of the time. So yeah, it's going alright. It's ups and downs, but hopefully as we sort of now get into sort of like the latter 2/3 of the event, it gradually starts just being a bit smoother, a bit more consistent, and less mistakes.
Do you think the wet weather is helping you gain consistency with a little bit less speed in the corners, or do you think you'll feel more confident once you reapproach the dry stages toward the end, as you said?
Well, I enjoy the wet weather. Just generally, I enjoy sort of wet stages normally, and I mean, you know me, I'll drive in any condition. Doesn't bother me what the conditions are. I'll drive in, and it's always enjoyable. You know, that's the nice thing about rallying is you kind of have to be adaptable to every sort of condition and surface. So, you know, that's the test of it, and that's what makes it fun.
Classic
Absolutely
Brit response, TK.
That is a fantastic response, but unfortunately, JPH, as much as we'd like to have a bit more of a chat, I think your run time is coming up about a minute ago, so we've already wasted 1 minute of your time, and we'll let you hop off and enjoy your run, and best of luck for it.
It's brilliant. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much. Well, that's 3 or 4 people we've had a pleasure of speaking to this afternoon already, as we see Aerotech going blazingly quick through Dyboro.
Uh-oh. You're asking me to pronounce a name now, aren't you? Oh,
Yes.
oh, what a shame my RaceNet won't load. Oh, no. Oh,
It's fine, they're in the VC chat. That's where I'm getting them from.
oh no, Gareth has put it on screen.
It
Oh,
was
suddenly I can't read Gareth. Oh, my apologies. I think it's pronounced Dybovo, because the W is a V in Polish, basically,
That
in
makes more sense.
pronunciation.
Yeah, Aerotech coming up towards the line. He'll be, well, it's an incredibly short stage at the moment, and obviously they don't have I say incredibly short. It's going to be about 4 minutes still. I'm just not with it, apparently.
He nearly went all the way off the road there last turn. It's very off-camber turn there, and once again, for JPH, there's a fence on the outside of that one, and you can't actually get out of the field apart from doing a reset. Ancephalosis has gone for a little bit of a spin on the tarmac there just before, and nearly going for another spin there, clipping the bush on the inside of the hairpin. So yeah, that tarmac section where you have to go on the brakes while turning, so tricky, so difficult, especially in the rainy conditions. I don't know whether Ancephalosis would have changed tires, but you know, looking at the grip there, even if he has, it's not looking very pretty at the moment, as the stages are completely just, well, a mud bath at this point.
Yeah, it's all looking, well, topsy-turvy for a lot of our creators at the moment. They can't seem to get their foot down as much as they would have liked, especially on the wet conditions. The tyres just are screaming out for the barest amount of grips. Rob's doing quite nicely, though. 109k over what looks like a bit of a dirt track with a heavy amount of rain on it there. But the car is facing the correct direction, at least.
Oh, Ancephalosis going wide on that last turn, as we said. And I don't know how he managed to keep it out of the field. He must have skipped over the fence right there. So yeah, Rob just... Oh, he's too fast. He's too fast. He's going to have to go for a spin here. Put it in reverse, or indeed put it in first gear and floor the throttle. Don't get it stuck on that bank. Oh, he's gone for the combo of problems in that hairpin right now. He's managed to recover it, though. Maybe only losing 2 or 3 seconds, paradoxically, there. So we got Ryan into the stage as well, and Vlembar basically on the same section here. Vlembar a couple of corners ahead, but you can see the difficulty in these stages, and it's just that it's narrow roads, it's obviously wet weather, that does not help, but also it's just so many obstacles on the outside, and you can see as soon as you're going into these foresty areas, you've got those high wall sort of earth banks, which Ryan has just fallen foul of, and that's into a tree. Hopefully not a reset penalty. Ryan, you need to pay really close attention to not get a reset penalty. That's very, very lucky right there. Getting a nice slingshot though for the straight, so he'll gain a little bit of time back. But yeah, that was not ideal, and as you can see, they take no prisoners to those mounds of earth. They're quite solid.
Certainly are indeed. I think if you ever went up against one in a rally car, I think the Earth may be winning on every single occasion, as we've seen, especially with the trees as well. Another prime example of things you don't want to mess with in a lightweight performance sports car. But I'm curious to see how Ryan and Vlembar handle the final corner here. We've seen 2 cars go off at that final corner, and I wonder if there's going to be a bit of a, let's just say, pattern over a few of our drivers.
I just want to say Ryan into that hairpin was absolutely on it. That was the best hairpin I've seen so far. Late on the brakes, trail braking, really getting the car rotated on the apex. Wasn't even late to the apex. That was brilliant, brilliant driving. As we've got Vlembar coming into that latter section here. Now you go right over crest. Don't clip the trees on the inside, but if you don't get it stopped a little bit on the brakes, you'll go right in onto the outside. And now just braking, aiming for the trees there and just cutting to the inside on this right hand corner, just keeping it out past the camber there and through across the line. That is the way you take the corner, but so easy to slide wide because you're going downhill. There's no brakes, there's not much you can do. Yeah, Ryan doing exactly the same thing as well. I know they practiced this stage. I joined them a little bit for some practice, so I know they were calling out this stage with that last turn, hoping to get it right during the actual event, and they have done that so far. I'll try it now and go and see if I can find their times.
Have fun, and may race never be ever in your favour. Of course,
Spoiler alert, it's not.
It's not, oh dear. Punja and Aero take the first 2, of course, that kick off any new stage. They're on to the next one here, and we will see how they manage to progress through. Expecting this to be a very similar sort of length, slightly longer than we just had. And at the moment, both of them handling the opening sectors rather nicely. That is a name I'm not even going to try and pronounce.
Gajarowskie is how I try and pronounce it. I did a few Polish lessons at university, so they're coming back now. It's all coming back to me. I'll be able to speak fluently by the end of the broadcast, I'm sure. Yeah, it's the stage names are often very sort of. I'd like to say that a lot of the stage names in Poland have some sort of local significance. Some of them even just being named after a town, like the Monte Carlo stages, basically, where the stage starts or where the stage ends. Like, for example, you have La Bolène Vesubie in Monte Carlo. It starts in La Bolène, ends in Vesubie. So it can be difficult to pronounce them, but they're quite logical in terms of names if you know their meaning, which I don't.
Well, that's rather unfortunate then.
Yeah. What? No, carry on,
Go on.
TK.
No,
You're saving
please
me
go.
at this point. Carry on.
I was going to say that, like, there's quite a few examples, especially not only in Poland, but we see it quite often in other things as well, and other disciplines quite often when we have the naming of tracks and corners. Quite often it will be local areas or things like that, because obviously we've got at Thruxton, the corner called Goodwood and things like that.
Indeed.
So it is a very common occurrence.
Yeah, it is. It is, and well, it's quite a logical way to name, corners, because sometimes they don't have a sort of defining feature to them, like a landmark nearby. So, you need to take an iconic name. But I know for a fact that, oh wow, Aerotech just getting all the way up in the air, just clipping the mound of earth on the side, clipping it again, but it got caught under the front splitter and just sent him into the air a little bit there, recovering very, very well, it must be said. But going back to the stage names, just as a closing thought, I do know that on one of the stages, I think it's Chervonki, which I can remember is maybe stage 7 or 8. It literally has it on the signboard as you start the stage, so that's how you know that you're in that stage. Very simple way of doing it, I guess, at least from a recce perspective.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how that prior knowledge, I don't want to say planning, because is that the right word for it? But see how that recuperates itself when the conditions start to become a little bit brighter. By the barest of margins.
That was so close, and it's still carrying on. The crash is still going 10 seconds. I was going to say minutes, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but 10 seconds. It's still going on. It literally just got it at the same corner as JPH, but the reverse of the entry to it, and just got it too far to the right, and so he was almost like one wheel on the fence, the other wheel on the mound of earth by the side of the road, and he managed to hop back onto the road, but he didn't manage to get it stopped in time for the next corner. So very lucky, but also very unlucky as well to have been put in that dangerous situation. But I think at this point the tyres are starting to complain, although he's very happy with that little Gymkhana moment right there. Ken Block would be proud.
Certainly would do indeed. An amazing bit of driving as they progress through, and it's interesting to see the different, I don't want to say styles, because we've seen this from day dot, especially with Punju. He's a very aggressive driver sometimes, but also can be a relaxed driver on the other occasions. Whereas Aerotech here, you see he's just trying to get the grip, feel it in, and every little time he's overextending just a bit more until the car doesn't stick, and then he backs off. It's really interesting driving.
And I tell you what, this is going to get even more interesting, because the battle between these two is really heating up. You have Punju in 38th place with a 2 minutes off the lead, let's call it 2 minutes 5 seconds according to the timing here. But Aerotech is in 30th, 1 minute 55 off the lead, so barely 10 seconds between them. And just after that, JPH, after that bit of a mistake, is 2 minutes 7 seconds off the lead. So there's a huge battle developing, and a battle at the front as well, with Vlembar and Ryan 3rd and 4th overall, with only 10 seconds separating them after stage 5. So all of the battles are starting now.
That is incredibly close for all of our drivers. And I think we see here Ancephalosys and Rob on the exact same section of the track. I think they are. As this is fascinating to watch, as they're pretty much neck and neck. I can't see the times, of course, on our Ancephalosys screen, but at least for Rob, across the line, nearing around the 5 minute mark, almost dead on. 4:57.1.
4:59.4.
4:59.4. Damn, that's incredibly close. between our two drivers.
Extra style
Yeah,
points
indeed.
on that one.
These stages, sometimes, especially in the dry, it can be a bit like a tarmac rally where the gaps are very, very close, a couple of tenths of a second, maybe a few seconds if you're unlucky. So the wet weather will increase those gaps, but they've just got to deal with it, as we've got another stage where Ryan and Vlembar have started pretty much at the same time. Ryan ahead by a couple of corners. You'll be able to see that by going back and forth between the perspectives. So these drivers are now having to push the limits, and Vlembar under pressure here this week from a resurgent Ryan after that victory last season. He looks like he wants another one, and it could be his time this time if he just keeps it consistent.
Certainly could do. This is an opportunity that he'll want. Of course, he's done us the pleasure of commentating on a few stages that he's run over the last few broadcasts. I don't think we get the pleasure of having his company for a stage tonight, obviously with the complete understanding of where he is on the standings at the moment, looking incredibly quick, and we hope him all the best as he makes his way through as well. But him and Vlembar are so close in terms of time, as you mentioned.
Yeah, there's a bit of a story developing here in which the C3 and the Fiesta are starting to become the cars that are really excelling in these wet weather conditions. The Hyundai and the Polo really struggling, I think, with a bit of understeer in the wet weather. So it'll be interesting to see whether the Polo of Vlembar can gain a bit more time back in the dry conditions, where you can get a bit more of a balanced car and a bit more turn-in. As you can see, Vlembar having to wait a long time for that car to actually turn. So I think we're seeing Vlembar just trying to tiptoe through the rainy stages, and then hopefully we'll try and challenge the top times after that. But we saw in practice basically that the tyres after about 3 stages were just basically slicks, no matter which compound you put on. And there's a very interesting choice that you have to make of whether you want to do 4 stages on the softs at the end rather than do 6 stages on the mediums beforehand to get the 2 stages, including the power stage, on that soft compound that's still in good state. As Vlembar negotiating that jump really, really well, and just keeping it on the medium sort of aggressiveness line. Clipping something though in the bushes there. I think that might be a stone or something, so lucky to get away with it. The door not so lucky there, as it's fluttering away in the wind. But yeah, the tyre choice is very, very difficult here, as maybe somebody will gamble and go for the last 2 stages with a fresh set of soft tyres and maybe go for some power stage points.
Well, I think if you're considerably down the not considerably down the standings, but you know you're not going to get within the top 3, I think that could be a relatively smart move to try and do. You survive the rest of the rally, you try and bring the car home, and then obviously you just go pretty much hell for leather for that final stage. The bonus points from that sort of offset are going to be worth it.
Yeah, you need to keep your car alive as well, though, mind. So if you're going 6 stages on a set of tyres, there's a big probability that you're going to be making a mistake. So you've got to really sort of dial that into your strategy. And I just want to point out, I think actually Ryan is setting a faster stage time through here. I think Vlembar either has made a mistake that I haven't seen. And well, he made that slight tap of a rock, but that wasn't really a time loss. But I think actually maybe Ryan's going... Yeah, Ryan's definitely going to have this. A 4:36. Vlembar's nowhere near the finish line right now. It's going to be close, but not too much. There's only 10 seconds between them, and he's going to lose the best part of 4 seconds there. So that is a swing in Ryan's favour right there, as he basically takes a third at least off of that gap.
Certainly is indeed. Don't go anywhere, folks, because of course everything is only just starting to try and catch up with itself. It's going to be an incredible end to this, and I think this is where the strategy may start to come into the fight in itself.
As would be said in Hercules, relax, it's only half time.
Well, speaking of half-time and speaking of these 2 drivers, we are going to have Vlembar in for a chat very quickly. Vlembar, how are you finding the opening half of this rally so far?
So far better than expected. I'm a bit surprised by my actual pace, because I feel like I'm driving safe and not like 100%, but the times do not represent that. It's going better than expected, and also in the wet, where I thought I would struggle a lot. Not much problems except a small moment here.
I'm going to call you out, Vlembar. Your pace was incredible in practice, so you were expecting this. But yeah, it looks like you are struggling a little bit with the wet conditions, though. I will say that with a bit of understeer, as we saw there, just into the trees a little bit. Is that just the nature of the car, or just something with the controller? And do you think you can fix that for the dry condition stages?
I think it's just down to the conditions. The dry stages feel very good, but the wets, yeah, there's just no grip. The corner where I nearly went into a tree, for example, I overestimated it a bit because we did this part in stage 2 at the beginning, I think, and I was basically trying to take the dry line, like in terms of pace and speed and everything. Didn't work out really, and I would say nearly cost me a big moment. But yeah, we got lucky there. But yeah, in general, yeah, I think it's just in general a problem for everybody.
Yeah, we've seen how the rally's been going. Obviously, we've been talking about strategy quite a lot. Obviously, the tyres and how everything's starting to come together. Where's the focus at the moment? Is it for the overall rally win? Are we thinking maybe in the back of the head about the power stage? Where's your mind at the moment?
So the strat I'm going for, which I think everybody's doing, I could be wrong though, is 4 mediums. Then usually everybody should have switched after stage 5 for 6 stages on another set of mediums, and then the last 2 on softs. So it's kind of a power stage strat. I've also heard different strats like 4 medium, 4 softs for medium. Kami was also here a short moment earlier. He said he's doing 6 medium, 4 softs, and 2 medium for the last 2. So I think that's also a very viable strategy. So yeah, I think there's actually a lot of options, just in terms of overall and also regarding the power stage.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one, using the soft tires with the sort of like rain stages, or with the shorter dry stages, and then using mediums for the 20 kilometers at the end, those 2 stages. I'm just noticing also on your POV, there's like a blue haze coming from behind the car. Now, it reminds me a lot of Dieselgate there. But do you think you're cranking up the power modes here once it gets dry weather, or are you just happy trying to stave off the battle with Ryan? Because Ryan is quite close behind you at the moment.
Yeah, he's having some great pace today. I wouldn't say it surprised me because he's usually always quick. He just tends to have a few more moments than you and me, for example. But so far, he is, except one moment he showed me earlier, spot on. And yeah, it reflects on the overall time. I think it's 7 seconds now.
I would say, except my race net is not working again.
I can check quickly. It is 11 seconds. Okay, I was a bit off. But still.
Just as you said that, my race net came back, so, you know.
Oh, what a miracle.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, 11 seconds, that's basically nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. So still possible for him to capitalize on a mistake if I do one. So I have to stay on it at the moment. And yeah, I'm just gonna try to keep up with the safe pace, basically. And yeah, we'll see if it works.
Amazing stuff. Well, I think we can only do and wish you the best of luck with it as well. We'll see how many points you can come out with at the end there.
We'll see. I'm hoping for.
Thank you so much.
Maybe this
time.
Thank
you so much, Well, let's catch up with some of the other drivers as they're making their way through here. Aerotech, of course, leads us out among the stages alongside Punju. And he is reaching the end of the next stage, another name, which again, I'm not going to try and pronounce, but he is making his way there rapidly fast, almost completed it by the time we've even gotten caught up with him.
Yeah, stage 7, Mikalaiki. I think this is the last wet weather stage, so a lot of people will be very happy to get to the end of this one. But for Aerotech and Punju, this is the one of the sections of the stage at the end there where there's been a lot of crashes on the first one. I think Punju might have had a moment here as he's going for the replay, perhaps. But yeah, there's a lot of smiles after completing that stage, that's for sure. Aerotech looked very relieved, it must be said, and Bunju's looking a little bit rejuvenated after doing that. And you can see why. The lighting conditions are terrible. The grip is terrible as Ancephalosis into the bank, as he's got a radiator damage now. I'm not sure if he has a puncture. It doesn't look like it, but that is not going to be... Yeah, he definitely has a puncture. Yeah, look at the way he's turning the wheel. He's not straight on that steering, and it's all a little bit over the place. Yeah, he's got a front right puncture. From what I can see, no turn in there whatsoever. That's going to be a painful last sector, and quite a steamy one apparently.
Yeah, I think with the radiator damage, it's only going to come and be tenfold for the issues that he is going to start to face, and obviously the traction issues with the no tyre on the front right as he goes once again for a trip over the fields. Does manage to get it back on the surface, at least for about half a second. Corner cut penalty.
That's wise.
I think that is very wise as he still spins out, though. This guy's looking...
Oh, that's
very
not
much
wise
30
anymore.
seconds.
Yeah,
Wow.
if you go too far off the stages, you will get a 30-second penalty. Although, my record, at least as far as I've seen from anybody else, it may be the biggest penalty you can ever get in a rally game, was 1 minute and 10 seconds back on Dirt Rally 2 Poland, where if you go... Oh no, Ancephalosis has completely gone flat out into a tree. I think he might have really serious damage right there. I just couldn't turn the car. And I'm wondering now if he has a puncture on both. Yeah, it's certainly looking that way. He can neither turn it... obviously, he needs to be very careful now, because if he goes too fast, then he's really taking it very slow now. Because if he double punctures and if he lets the tire go off on off the rim on both of them, it will be an auto DNF. So now he's past the finish line, he's safe. But that was very, very lucky in my opinion. Well, lucky and unlucky. Still in the rally, but a lot of damage on the car there. And he's got another stage to run. Oh, dearie me. Hopefully he's got a spare. Yeah.
Ideally
We said
too, but I don't think he would have.
we had the same thought at the same time there. Just that's ominous. If he has no spare, that's going to be a long stage. Because well, I'd love to tell the distance of stage 8, but guess what? RaceNet has decided to go away again. So it remains a mystery. From what I remember, it's a short-ish stage, 10 kilometers, so not that big a deal, not 18 kilometers, but still painful to get through, as we've got JPH and Vlembar through stage 7 right now. And you can see also the shiny sort of nature on the wet gravel is very difficult as well for the lighting and for spotting the apex. And we've noted in these turns that Vlembar is going through, it's very, very easy to miss the banks on the inside of the corners and not be able to see them, and then have a huge moment.
Absolutely. I've also tried to call up the club just to have a look at how long the stage is. And it's just being a little bit, I don't want to say slow for me.
At least it's not just me.
Stage 8, won't it be? It'll be 4.5
Chervonki.
kilometers. Chervonki.
Yeah.
4.5 kilometers, partly cloudy, but remaining dry in the morning.
Yeah, just reappeared as soon as you started that, so I was like, hey, I can read it out, and then everybody appeared at the same time. Good old RaceNet. It does work 99% of the time, but it shows actually how useful it is when it stops working, and then you have none of the reference points. A lot of information available on RaceNet, including telemetry, which is really interesting to have a look at. Vlembar, that is a big incident and a big recovery right there. I think he will be counting his lucky stars, although just keeping it out of the fence there. That is the second lucky escape on this rally, and I think he just got away with it through quick handling, quick thinking, but the car not handling the way he wants it to, and it looks a little bit all over the place at the moment.
Certainly does indeed. I think they'll be counting every single chicken that hatches at the moment, trying to clutch onto them with all their might and pray that they don't let go, as Vlembar is increasingly sending out. I thought, does it look like Ryan's got damage? It looks like the car's almost crabbing in a slight way.
Well, I'd like to say no, that's normal Citroen handling, but the car is quite oversteery on worn tires. Like Vlembar will be understeering because of the controller, but Ryan will probably be oversteering a lot here, and so those rear tires will probably be cooked at this point, and you will have a four-wheel drift. And because that car has quite a balanced aerodynamic package, not the best one, but definitely balanced. There you can see the difference in conditions. There, Encephalosis is on stage. He's having more problems on stage 8, just clipping the inside there of tree, but you can see the difference in terms of rain versus dry weather. Look at that. You got 3 drivers there that are just coping with the rain, and then Encephalosis is taking an easy Monday drive because of the damage, sadly. But yeah, he'd be going very, very fast if it weren't for that puncture that I think he still has.
Engine damage as well.
He might actually be driving under 100 kilometers per hour, just so that he doesn't puncture. If he has 2 punctures and he goes over a certain speed, it makes it more likely for the tire to blow out. And I think he's keeping it to under 60 miles per hour there to not have the tire blow out. Now, that's not a fail-safe strategy, as I found out last season in Chile, as Aerotech nearly goes for a little roll there. The tire does give out anyway after a set number of kilometers. I didn't count the kilometers, but you cannot drive indefinitely on a punctured tire, even if you keep the pace very low. So Encephalosis will be praying that he just gets to the end of this stage at this point.
Yeah, I think he will. I don't know where he's picked up the gearbox damage, so I don't think we saw that when he had
engine
that
damage.
Is that engine damage? My apologies.
I think so. Yes. So the middle one is handbrake, if I remember correctly, and the bottom one is engine damage from overheating or just hitting stuff.
Yeah, I could never remember whether it was gearbox or engine. I've heard competing theories between the two. Either way, not very good situation to be in.
No, for sure. It's very possible that he's picked up light engine damage and has elected to not repair it in the service, and so that makes it more likely to get engine damage from overheating there. And 47 seconds, not too bad actually to lose the time. And Punju there, just just outside the top 30 there. I think 32nd place with a time 12 seconds off the pace approximately. So Aerotech into the finish line. Let's see what the time is. 2:17, just behind. So 0.5 of a second between the two drivers there. They are really pushing the limits here.
They are indeed, and some of them reaping the rewards, some of them pushing the cars maybe slightly over their expected limits. We see Aerotech 37th on the leaderboard for stage number 8. We've got 4 more to go. Another short blast, 4.4 kilometers. They've got 989, sorry, to finish us off for this afternoon's rallying endeavours.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like much, but that's quite a distance to go on worn tyres for most people, and there's quite a bit of damage as well creeping in here. Ryan seems to have been escaping all of the drama at the moment. I'll just try and see if I can get the times. It doesn't appear like... He's taken 3 seconds out, according to the director, producer, Gareth. So the gap continues to close there, as Vlembar having quite a few mistakes in that, in those. Well, they're on stage 8 now, so on stage 7. So yeah, that last wet weather stage not being very kind. And as you can see now, the speed will ramp up. You'll have to commit to the corners, and for Ryan, this might be the time to shine, or the time where it goes a little bit wrong, because Vlembar will now up the pace with that Polo and not having too much understeer now.
Certainly will do indeed, and it'll be interesting to see how our drivers handle. Of course, we've got differing weathering conditions over the course of this rally. We've had a lot of rain, and now the dries, they can start to trust the car a little bit more. The brakes will be a little bit more responsive, so will the tyres, but they are coming. If they're doing the strategy that a few have done or followed along with, they're probably coming to the end of a tyre life.
Funnily enough, it can actually be easier to lock the brakes on dry gravel because you're sliding across the surface, whereas the rain compacts the gravel a little bit, and within reason can provide a good amount of braking grip, but just not a good amount of turning grip. As you see there, Ryan just navigating the tops of those banks. It's looking like a very good time. So 126, let's call it, into the hairpin. What's it going to be for Vlembar? Looking like another second time loss for Vlembar. So this could be very close at the end of the rally if it continues like this. It could be all out for a power stage push at this rate.
I think it's going to be incredibly close. It's going to go down to if someone makes a mistake. I think that's where we're kind of going to stand. Obviously, these short 2 stages will be so closely separated. When we head to 10, 11, 12, 9, 8, 9 again, that's when the longer stages start to come in. Yes, they're only going to be about 4 minutes a blast each, but of course they will provide an opportunity for our drivers to make those minuscule mistakes, which can be capitalised upon by the other.
208, near enough dead on. So it's passed for Vlembar there. I think it was a 9.5, I was going to say, so 9.6. So that is another 1.6 second time loss. It doesn't sound like much, but he's got, well, at that pace, it's going to be basically neck and neck for the power stage. So close.
My car.
Wow.
And they're second
Right.
overall.
Wanted, obviously, it could barely.
Incredible. Citroen 123 as well, as we are getting Ryan in for an interview fresh off of that stage. I feel like I'm Julian Porter doing the end of stage interview there. And that looks like a very, very fast stage. It looked like you were committed through there. And 1.6 seconds gained on Vlembar. The game is on, isn't it?
No. I'm not. I'm going to be honest. No. Vlembar is, I think, in the early stages of this rally, he kind of, kept it clean. I made a mistake. I think it was stage 4, where I lost about 6 seconds to him. But I mean, as I've always said to you, John, like off camera, in our broadcasts, like if I'm ever close to you or Vlembar, it's a win for me. And to be only, I think it's 13 seconds off the lead in the craters, I'm chuffed already. And surprising I've not had any damage, but I'll probably jinx myself now. But it's been a very clean rally for me, really, apart from maybe one little mistake I made. But happy with the pace at the minute, but still a long way to go, though.
Yeah, Vlembar making quite a few mistakes, though. He's very on the limit and not looking very confident in the car. So maybe not as bad as you think it is.
No, I mean, the Citroen's got its disadvantages as well. I mean, it's got a lot of understeer in the car. You have to really really turn it a bit more just to get some angle. I mean, there's a view here. I don't know if you can see it on broadcast. I just went a bit I tried to turn it full lock, but just wasn't turning. So could be something with the setup, really. But the Volkswagen's got the advantage on the straights, and I know there's a couple of power style stages coming up, which will give Vlembar the slight advantage over me. But we'll just give it our shot. I mean, on some of the stages we've gone through, they're the ones I was kind of worried or concerned about going into them, because in practice I've crashed a few times in them, but kept it clean's the main thing. And but the aim now is just to get my highest ever finishing crate series in the overall leaderboard, which is, I think it was 18th. I think earlier on in the season. So I mean, I think I'm 4th at the minute, or 5th overall. So we'll just see how we go on, but still got some tricky stages coming up anyway, so we shall see.
Amazing stuff. It's looked fascinating to see how it goes through. And we were speaking to, we were speaking to each other earlier on about obviously you coming on and commentating a couple of stages early. Don't worry, we won't force you to do that this afternoon with quite how high you are flying. But of course, sometimes from that insight, it gives us a really interesting perspective to how you're seeing things down on the ground. And obviously, especially when we're watching kind of on board, almost over your shoulder sometimes, we don't necessarily get the same point of view in many aspects.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do, as you well know, I would love to do it, but fighting for a win overall in this, I want to try and focus on that. But these stages are I mean, this is a new rally for me as well. I've only started playing it recently, so it's a fun one. It reminds me a bit of Finland, but a bit more deadly, I would say, for some strange reasons. But with the mix of the weather being played that Punju's decided to throw at us for this event. But yeah, Poland's is an interesting one. It's really good. I like it. If I'm looking back on it, I think maybe I should have picked maybe the Ford, because it's a bit more stable for me and I have a setup on it. But I just thought I'd just go completely different, because I knew the Ford or the Volkswagen was going to get picked, because it is a very competitive car, the two of them. The Citroen, I've heard, is a bit underrated, but if you get a setup, which I found, and I'd have to say it because he's here, but John has helped me a bit with some areas of the setup to help me understand it and get up there. So John, thank you. If I somehow survive the end of this, then drinks are on me.
Okay, that's a jinx right there. I didn't say anything. I just want to make everybody aware of that. But
Gonna
it's
get my
it's interesting to
lawyers
work on setups. I'll just add a point on that. It's very interesting to work with other drivers on setups because the driving style is different. You know, you have to start from scratch basically to try and figure out what works for a driver. And what we see in Poland is many different styles working in different places and on different rhythms. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, as Ryan said, over the next few stages, who's fastest and what car is working the best.
Indeed,
right.
it will.
Sorry, Ryan, after you.
No, I was just saying I am agreeing with John. It's like on some stages the Citroen's been quicker. Like on that last one, I was 2 and a bit seconds quicker, but Vembar's got the better of me on some because of the power ones where the Volkswagen's got more than the Citroen has. So it will be a mix and match. So it'll be interesting as we do the reverse of what we've just done, I believe, for the next stage. So we shall see. But it's going to be very interesting between me and Vembar. But hopefully the viewers will have a good get the popcorns ready, and hopefully I'll try my best to try and close the gap and give it a grandstand finish for the power stage.
Well,
like a plan.
fingers crossed is probably the best we can say for that. We wish you luck, and we hopefully look forward to seeing you atop the creator standings at the end of the rally.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, indeed. Well, he seems confident. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he's
Wicked
very confident, and there is, I think Vlembar's now out of sync with Ryan after that interview. But yeah, I think we've got the stage time of 2:04 from Vlembar. Yes, I can see it on RaceNet here. So that's 6th fastest in this stage. We'll be able to watch Ryan through the stage here. Very short, 4.4 kilometers. Just about 100 meters difference with that finish line, start line of this stage now being moved forward a little bit. So you've got to really just put pedal to the metal on this one, and that's not how you take the first proper corner of that stage. That's it could have gone a lot worse. Those banks can sometimes be very tricky, but they were very kind to Ryan there, and he can hopefully gain confidence throughout the stage.
Absolutely. He's got to just try and lock back in. Quite often, if you just disappear for a quick chat or 5 minutes away, you can lose that focus, especially going into such a quick stage like this. But Ryan's one of those drivers that can just lock back in, and I think he's already back in that zone as you see him take that hairpin in a beautiful manner.
It was interesting working with him on the setup. Actually, he was classic sort of like how could I put it? Tarmac driver, I'd say, which is a compliment to him. His racing lines are brilliant, but he has a tendency to carry a lot of pace into the corner and apex speed, and sometimes the cars don't like that. They like to be just rotated in on the handbrake and slowed down so you can get the perfect exit. And so I think what happened there in that second turn is just a case of running wide the setup, not getting enough turn in, and so he's trying to carry the speed and it's just not happening. You can see there on that turn as well, just the bumps carrying wide. And that was very lucky there over the mound of earth on the inside. But it's a compromise in terms of the setup. You want stability, but you also want speed, and sometimes you get that sort of choice of grip a little bit wrong. And I think just maybe a bit of optimism as well, paying into that second corner mishap. You can see here is not 100%. I'd say he's 99%. He's leaving a tiny bit on the inside of the turns. I think just because he's so afraid of clipping something on the inside. It's so easy to do. And obviously, with this being a stage where you've got another one after it, you don't want to pick up a puncture. That's a 2:08. That's a 4-second time loss to Vlembar. So Vlembar on a rampage right now.
I'm a bit.
Well, the advantage sits with the young Vlembar, and obviously Ryan will look to try and come back in the final 3 stages. Just shy or just over 27 kilometers between the 3 of them. We're watching Punju, who goes very deep there in towards the tight right-hander, and it's a common mistake that we're seeing at corners like that, just carrying too much speed, and the gravel just doesn't allow the cars to turn.
Yeah, you want to turn at the same time you pull the handbrake, and the problem is it locks all 4 tires basically, and you just end up sliding off. The gravel tires can only give so much, and on such a loose surface like this, you really want to brake in a straight line, then get a handbrake turned in. But Punju obviously not having his usual handbrake, so it might also be playing into that where he has to you sort of adapt and have a bit more harsh rotation when he pulls that handbrake. And that might also be playing into it. But he seems very happy with that stage, and so that little overshoot, not too bad. And Aerotech finished at the exact same time on that stage. I didn't catch exactly their stage time, so a 42.0 and a 40, let's call it a 49. 48 point something, 0.8 or 0.9. So, yeah, a little bit of time going Aerotech's way there.
I think it is, and Aerotech was pumping his fist as he came across the line. Clearly was very happy with the run that he just laid down, and he knows that he's only got 2 more stages to go to finish off. Rob comes across the line 4 minute 51. That puts him in 39th place. I'm not sure if he was looking at his own time or someone else was there. I didn't quite catch that. As JPH and Ancephalosis take up the bottom of our screens for the time being.
Yeah, it's one of those stages now where you've just got to go flat out. You've got to push the limits, and you know, getting to the end of the rally as well, you'll be looking forward to changing onto some fresh compound tires, and for most people it'll be onto the soft tires, which wear incredibly quickly, but give you the same amount of grip as in time trial, so at least there will be a little bit of a familiar pattern. Now JPH sadly has had a little bit of an off at some point and lost approximately a minute from what I can tell, so rather than being about 2 minutes off the pace, he's about 3.5 minutes off the pace, so it's not been the best of drives. There's been a little bit of problems there and a bit of damage on the car as well, so maybe once again, as usual, the problem with these rallies is high speed means high commitment, and if you don't have the confidence, and if you've made a mistake especially, then you won't be committing fully to the corners, and it can get you into more and more trouble.
Certainly is. JPH still looking focused though, especially on the new wheel, and it has been working for him over the course of today's endeavours. Not far off from the finish line, getting past the hay bales, narrowly missing that on the inside there, and again just swooping around the outside, slight dab of the handbrake as well, and he looks relaxed. That's all I can really say for JPH at the moment. He doesn't look like much is phasing him. He looks smooth in his driving.
Yep, it looks like he's just trying to gain it back, and you know, the best way to do that is to sort of just pull the speed back a little bit and let the car do the work more than the driving, and that way, if you're smoother, paradoxically you can gain time. A lot of the problem with gravel rallying is actually over driving the car. It can be very easy to just chuck the car sideways all the time, and if you do it absolutely correctly, you can gain time. Otherwise, you're going to lose heaps of time. As we have once again Vlembar and Ryan basically side by side on the stage. I think they are coordinating to start to these stages at the exact same moment as we were doing last week, when sadly there was no broadcast. So yeah, a lot of people just trying to do it at the exact same moment, and they're basically within a corner right now. So looking at the time difference, it's looking like Vlembar is most definitely at least a couple of seconds ahead on this stage. So Ryan still just trying to fight it out, but Vlembar is... Oh, well, I say that, Vlembar is off the road. Hopefully no reset penalty, but he's going to have to regain the stage there. That was a very high-speed incident. Hopefully no damage there, but just a little mishap in the line, and you can't correct it in time, and then you're straight into the trees. And yeah, that was a very big scare, the third of the evening for Vlembar.
That was unfortunate to say the least, and that could be his chance at topping the creator standings slowly starting to dwindle away. Ryan there taking across to the grass, maybe trying to open up the corner as much as he possibly can, and it's something that we've seen in other disciplines of racing, that you want to extend the corner. Obviously in rally. Oh, that's not going to help though.
Needs to regain the stage. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's cursing himself a little bit there. But yeah, and he's got a penalty as well to boot, so not the best. I think it just, as he said, he went up onto the grass a little bit, and that's what can happen if the wheel or the underside of the car hits the bank. It can do very, very unexpected things, and then all of a sudden you're rolling through the fields. And yeah, so Ryan's, as he said, he's done very well to get to this point, and you know, he was expecting possibly a mistake to happen. I was hoping that it didn't, but there you go. He knows his driving better than me, and so what was going to be a good time gain is going to turn into a time loss to the tune of 5 seconds, and Ryan, understandably, very upset with that.
See, that was a fascinating moment because both of them made mistakes at very similar points, but neither of them knew that each other made a mistake. So it's going to be that mentality of, oh, I've got to try and keep pushing, when actually the time loss wasn't too different between the two of them.
Yeah, that's the sort of paradox of not having the split times during the stage, is that even if your rival makes a mistake, you don't know about it, and so you keep pushing 110%, as you said, TK. And, you know, it's almost that thing of, oh, well, you know, 99% my rival hasn't made a mistake, so I have to be inch perfect. And with both of you saying that, the risk of a mistake actually goes up. And it's been very, very common, even in the real WRC, that people have made mistakes on the last stage at near enough the exact same place, and it's ended up being within a tenth of a second for the win, or the podium, or the power stage victory. So, yeah, with the pressure rising, and the last stage on these tyres as well for most drivers, it just compounds the facts, as you say, TK, into one thing where a mistake can lead to another.
Absolutely right. Punji there, just finding his feet ever so slightly, and I couldn't comprehend that there's that many buttons, that many levers for him to try and navigate, especially having to remind himself that his handbrake's on his paddle shifters this evening, of course, having some issues as well, and it's a lot for him to handle. It's pace notes, it's driving, it's everything that's around the car, and you're essentially tricking your brain going, this is actually the race that I'm competing in.
Yeah, you need to have on the dash somewhere a nitrous button. I don't care if it works or not, but it's a mandatory as he goes all the way Joker lap around the trees. Lovely recovery. And that's what I was saying earlier on. You have to commit to the corner or commit to bailing out of the corner. And Punju recognising very, very early on he wasn't going to make that one. And just so going into the field, taking the risk a little bit that the field will be smooth. And it was luckily for him, so he managed to save it. But yeah, it can end up the opposite way as well. So yeah, you have to be just fully focused at every single time. And you know, when you're pushing speeds of 200 kilometers per hour on most of these straights, you have to be inch perfect. As Punju looks very relaxed at the moment.
He does indeed. I'm just reading Gareth's message in the chat, and he's gone, I wonder if Punju ever reads the notes on that big 4K screen. I was like, what notes is he referring to? And I looked to the right-hand side, you can quite clearly see his co-driver's notebook as you're progressing through. I'd get so distracted and want to try and read what is written in there.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you've got to keep your eyes on the road, as they say. You know, there's no rules in stage rallying about that, but it goes without saying as Punju, all into the ditch, all crossed of the steering wheel, and managing to recover that and braking in just the right zone there. I don't know how much practice he's had of that situation, but I can only guess that he wouldn't do anything differently if it happened again. Well recovered.
Fantastically recovered. I don't know how he's managed to keep that out of the barrier, at least to the very bare minimum. Keep an eye on Ancephalopoulos, who's also having issues there in that car for the umpteenth number this afternoon. Has gotten round, and it looks like Rob G. Baker is also suffering similar issues. Can't keep the car under control, both with considerable damage as well.
Ripping stage.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so tricky. Oh, Ancephalopoulos has no turn-in on that car. Something might be broken on there. Maybe just the aerodynamics, but it's so tricky to spot the braking points. You know, the road is almost like to a vanishing point. You can't see it over the grass, and so when you're just on these winding turns, you know, these 4 or 5 noted corners, you just have to guess and hope that you're right, and you know, pull the handbrake if you're not, and then hope you don't go into the trees. But for Rob and Ancephalopoulos, this is going to be a photo finish, at least on broadcast. We don't have Ancephalopoulos' time, but they are motoring through the exact same corners here. You can see Ancephalopoulos, I think, carrying a bit more speed. Yeah, about 5 to 7 kilometers per hour difference. That was close for Ancephalopoulos. That was on the limit through that, and I thought he was going to have a big off there. But Rob just rotating the car a little bit too much. You can see he's losing a bit of time there just through not getting the perfect traction out of the junctions and out of the corners. Very late braking. Ancephalopoulos is not going to make that corner. Hopefully he can get it turned around without having a reset straight through the wires to bring down the finish board for the next player. And across the line, it's Ancephalosis that is 5 seconds faster on that stage, and you could see it visually. He was faster, but taking more risks.
Certainly is indeed. We've been told that Vlembar and Ryan L are starting the final 2 stages at the same time, and this is going to be an incredible run up towards the end of the rally if we can get them side by side at some point over the course of the next couple of stages. So we see JPH on the left hand side at the moment, just progressing his way through, and again, just smooth, calm, collected, and a very, very comfortable man in that cockpit at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the smoothest drivers that I know, and he works tirelessly to improve the speed, but always the smoothness, it will be an asset at some point. And I think towards the tail end of this rally, he actually looks incredibly laid back, just one hand on the wheel, like meandering through the stages. Nothing is wrong whatsoever. But I think, maybe just a little bit frustrated with that mistake earlier on. Sometimes on such a fast rally, the motivation dips a little bit because you don't have the opportunity to gain the pace back. If it's on a rally like Greece, for example, with loads of hairpins, you can gain maybe half a second per hairpin if you do them perfectly, and then at the end of the stage, that's 10 seconds. And so with a fast rally or a tarmac rally, it's the same concept. You just can't gain that time back to the tune of a minute, and so you just have to settle in for the power stage, and I think that's what he might be doing, as Ryan was up on 2 wheels there all the way up the bank. Very unconventional line, straight lining it to perfection.
Well, we'll see how the sector splits are. As you can see by both their maps, approaching it near identical as they come across. 52 for Ryan, 49 for Vlembar. So Vlembar's got about a 3-second advantage as they make their way through. I think it's just about halfway through the final stage.
Second to last stage, from what I have noted here. But they're both very similar stages, so they're going to have to be flat out from here on out. They also don't want to take too much out of the tires, to be honest, because they do wear incredibly fast, and toward the end of this first stage you will start to notice that there's a little bit of a drop off, a little bit more understeer, and so Vlembar will be using this to get used to the tires. It's very important, though, even though you want to conserve the tires, to get used to that extra grip or the balance of the car, because the harder compound tires tend to have a lot more understeer, whereas the softer compound will give you oversteer. And so if you're not ready for it on the power stage, you can easily just go off in turn 1, as Ryan looks to be struggling a little bit here, and Vlembar, it must be said, is looking way more comfortable on this softer compound.
Certainly is indeed, and this is where the time is really starting to pay dividends for the softer rubber, especially in the latter stage. And obviously we've got one more run after this 9.7 kilometers just to finish this off, and it's going to be close. It's always going to be close when they're almost unseparated, coming through 8 or 9 stages in itself. But Vlembar has had a degree of precision this afternoon that I've very rarely seen from him.
Yeah, he loves, I think, these faster rallies, the technical ones, quite tricky on the controller, obviously, and he knows that he's got a good turn of speed, and I think he'd focused this rally as well as one of the ones where he wanted to gain some points back, so he'll be happy that he's gotten to the end of it, maybe a little bit disappointed in those mistakes, obviously, as they're about to approach the line. Vlembar will cross at first 3:49, so that's time has already passed, and a nearly 5-second gap there to Ryan. So Ryan just not... I mean, I'd say that the balance of the Citroen has not worked in his favour, because he's probably still getting understeer from the setup, and so with the tyres giving an oversteer, that's probably just translating into a 4-wheel drift that you saw earlier, TK. So maybe the Polo is better suited to this power stage push, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, speaking of 4-wheel drifts, Punju sending that Citroen sideways as much as he possibly can. He must get such a feeling of how the car's handling, albeit with the, let's just say, minor instance that he's had over the course of this evening's endeavours. But the majority of it, he's looked so in control and so precise through every single twist and turn that Poland has thrown at him.
Yeah, the triple screen, I'd say, gives a really good perspective of where you have to watch out for, and I think it gives him a lot more perspective on how close he is to the sides of the road, and so he can maximize those turns and avoid those hay bales as well. Very important. And so what that means is it gives you extra confidence, but it can work against you if you start hitting objects. Obviously, they're much closer with the screen being right next to you, so it can give and take away confidence easily done either side, basically. And so when you're very close to those banks, you can see them literally right next to your hand, and you sort of sometimes can chicken out, whereas if you've got a single screen, you just keep it flat and hope for the best. As Ancephalosis has made a little bit of a mistake on one of the jumps, and he's all over the place at the moment. And yeah, he recovered it though, a bit like JPH did earlier. Punju locking the brakes there. Oh, he was lucky to get that rotated, literally down to first gear using the engine braking. And can Aerotech get it correct? Aerotech's too fast as well. Oh, managed to get it stopped, but yeah, Punju just not rotating it a little bit too much, I think, into that turn, and yeah, just hitting the bale on the inside. Not the best, TK.
Not the best at all. I think maybe just overestimated how fast the car was travelling. Again, happened in a very similar situation. Just drifted too far on that occasion, didn't drift far enough on the time before. And I think that's just where he has to refine his balance of speed. Of course, changing equipment can find yourself in a bit of a tricky situation where you lose that sense of speed because you're so dialed in from the previous equipment that you had. And obviously Punju is just, he's still getting used to the situation. He's still dialing in 100% as a driver that does frequently switch disciplines, especially within the racing scene. He is a fond driver of sports cars and open wheelers as well. So, it's going to take a bit of time to get that muscle memory back, to get your eyes and brain almost calibrated to the surrounding once again.
Yeah, you can see by the steering inputs, Punju has a very all-round style of driving. Oh, once Aerotech nearly flipping the car over there. But his style caters to a lot of racing, and I think that's one of the biggest compliments I could give Punju, is that he's just fast over all the disciplines, and it takes a lot of skill to do that. And so when he's trying to transition between rally and circuit racing, whether it's endurance, F1 and all of that, you've got to make minor tweaks to your driving style, and it can be so difficult, but he does it effortlessly, and it makes it look easy, as you can see, just getting all the way close to the bank but not touching the bank. Very, very nice. And it's going to be across the line, 4 minutes 40, I think 41 closer to that. But Aerotech is going to go a lot faster than that with a 38 across the line. Incredible.
Fantastic stuff from Aerotech. Spipping out Punju there by a considerable number of seconds. Keeping an eye on Rob G. Barker and Ancephalosis at the moment. Of course, both of them opting for the Polo in this evening's endeavours. And it is going to be Barker that is finishing ahead of Ancephalosis, at least in the timings. At least on the track, on the surface. But we'll wait and see what the full official timings are going to be, as we cannot see Ancephalosis' times at the moment. But at the moment, Rob's on for a fairly good run here.
Yeah, important to note, this is the power stage as well. Oh, Ancephalosis just not getting it rotated into that turn as well. Avoiding the spectator as well. Got to find a way back on track, though. Yeah, he's had a disastrous power stage, it must be said. Just crashing here, there, and everywhere, sadly. I think just trying to make amends for previous mistakes, but it can't always work out, as Rob is going to come to the end of what has been a successful rally for him. Not made any major mistakes, and he's just kept it pinned, and hopefully he can get to the end. A big old fist bump there. He's very happy with that, and across the line in under 20 seconds to Punju's time, so that's still a very good time. Let's see, Ancephalosis. He's got another couple of corners to go. He's coming up to that right-hander very fast. Got to brake a little bit before turning in. There you go. Lovely negotiated. Just outside the top 10 there for Rob Barker, but he's 49th at the moment. He'll drop a couple of places, obviously, but that is a brilliant start to a Creator Series run right there.
Certainly is, and what an opening round he could have asked for, within the top 60 or so, especially after the rest of the creators do come across the line. But these are the two we're going to keep an eye on. This certainly will be the battle for the lead, and if memory serves me correctly, it looks like Ryan might have had a bit of a mistake because he's considerably further back than Vlembar is.
Yeah, he's made a mistake here. Maybe a... Well, no, at this point, must be a reset penalty, surely, with that amount of time difference. I'm not seeing any major damage on the car. Maybe the tyres are just cooked, but surely not. He's about 15 seconds behind, maybe even a bit more at this stage. That is incredible pace, unless Vlembar has turned up the wick for the last stage and is going for power stage points, knowing that maybe a few mistakes too much to be at the top of the standings. I don't know, but you know, in Poland you're bound to make one little mistake. You've got to make it as little as possible, and Vlembar has done exactly that. Few mishaps, but losing couple of seconds at most in most of them, so he's just got to keep it flat, and we might see a wonderful stage time here. Just trying to get the fastest time up now. I think it was a low or a high 3 minutes. Very close, wasn't it? No, carry on. Very close.
Yeah, very close. Almost up on his bonnet there, and that could have been a championship handing back. Sorry, not a championship, a race or a rally handing back to Ryan L. Vlembar, that must be maybe a bit of a wake-up, maybe a bit of a brown trouser moment, especially as he doesn't know the times that Ryan's currently running.
Yeah, you've also got to note Kamikaze has set a stage performance in this one. He's gone 5th fastest on the power stage, so very, very competitive time here. 4:20, which is a very nice time to win the power stage, but Vlembar is not going to manage to do it just yet. It's that few mistakes there. 4:27, which will put them, I think, in second place on the power stage. 4:41.5 for Ryan will put him outside of the top 20, sadly, so I'm expecting to see a penalty there. He looks slightly dejected with that, it must be said.
Certainly is, and we're going to kick off our round of interviews with, well, I think the fastest man overall at the moment, at least within our creators. And Vlembar's here for a bit of a chat. How did it run for yourself this afternoon? It was so close between yourself and Ryan L at the end there, and I think there must have been a mistake by Ryan L. We were trying to figure out as we cut to you.
Yeah, I'm also checking. Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
25.
He's dropped behind, well, at least on the power stage, behind Aerotech, behind Kamikaze, behind Punju. Yeah, so he's going to maybe get a couple of points on the power stage. So that means that the battle for P2 at the moment is going well in your favor.
Yeah, so another provisional win at the moment, so I certainly cannot complain. I had a few moments starting like after stage 5 or 6. But nothing big, so I would consider myself lucky with 2 or 3 moments. But yeah, in general, I'm a bit surprised by my pace. And also overall, I think Ryan and myself secured P3 and P4. We did, so yeah, that was our target after like the first 2 stages. And yeah, worked well.
Yeah, did you see? Sorry, TK, carry on.
No, please go, please go.
I was going to say, can you be happy with the pace, knowing that it can be very difficult for high-speed rallies on controller? And you know, do you think you can carry this pace on into the second half of the season?
Yeah, I think I did surprise myself a bit. Obviously, last night we did it a bit of practice, and yeah, it was like a 50-50. Like some good stages, some stages were just horrible. If I compare to that, it was a lot better today. And yeah, regarding the next half of the season, some good combos. Pretty sure there's also some good results in there. Maybe exception is the penultimate round in Group B with the rear-wheel drive. Could be a bit of a challenge, but the other ones, yeah, I think I'm confident there.
That is. It's looked like a fantastic run from yourself. See, we've spoken about kind of future endeavours and the rallies coming up for the next few weeks. What, if you had to pick one of them, what would be kind of your strong pick from yourself?
Oh, that's a tough question. It's probably between the next one in Pacifico in the 2012 to 2016 cars, or the final round in Italy with the WRC2. Probably between those two. Portugal, yeah, probably not. I always tend to have some problems there for some reason, and obviously, yeah, rear-wheel drive is not suited for me. So that's obviously out the window. But yeah, it would be between those two, I'd say.
Yeah, just want to add a bit of context for our viewers. I've just seen Ryan's perspective on the power stage. He clipped a bank and flipped the car over onto the roof and had to take a reset penalty. That's why he lost so much time in the power stage. But yeah, going back to what we were saying, Vlembar, I think four-wheel drive definitely your forte. So a chance to get a lot of points on the board. Do you think still? I can't be neutral in it, obviously, but championship still on.
Yeah, I mean, for sure it's still on. Anything can still happen. I mean, obviously, with the trend it's going at the moment, it looks like a easy ride for one person. But yeah, still anything is possible. Anything can happen. There's always a chance that you, myself, can have some problems. And Ryan is also then again up there. So you never know.
Amazing stuff. Well, fantastic job from yourself this afternoon, Vlembar. We look forward to seeing, hopefully, a very similar story next week in Rally Pacifico as well.
I hope so as well.
Thank you so much. Catch you soon.
See ya.
See you soon. It looks like we're going to have a double interview coming in next as well. We're going to have Aerotech and Punju both coming in for a chat and a little gander. How are we both?
Hey, good. How are you?
Doing very well, guys. How was the rally for yourselves? Let's talk us through it. Just a quick kind of run through from start to finish. Punju, we'll let you go first, bud.
It was really fun. Definitely one of the more gnarly rallies I think I've had in a while. But I enjoyed the heck out of it. I thought I did a pretty good job. Could have been better. Could have been worse. We'll take it. It was a strugglesome rally, but it was very fun. And holy smokes, I love these cars.
And same to you, Aerotech, as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, these cars fit really good here. This is a rally that I did really well when it came out in the junior WRC, so I kind of had some high hopes, but I was like, oh, they're like two totally different cars. Don't go into it. And then first stage, my first ever top 10 stage time in Crater Series. The power stage, I was like 14th or something like that. I think I made one mistake in an hour of driving, and I had a spin because I like recovered the car and was so jazzed about recovering the car that I didn't listen to the next three pace notes and went off. It's I wish it was a cooler story than that, but that's what happened. I again can't thank Ryan enough for the setup help. Everything kind of just clicked today, and then Vlembar with the advice on the tire strategy, which really helped us out. It was a really good day for the old Hot Friends Rally team, Ford Fiesta. We flew today.
In terms of the second half of the season, we've got some very difficult rallies with Pacifico, Portugal, Croatia, and then Sardinia. So quite technical rallies. Do you think the fast and flowing stages of Poland will suit you better, or are you looking forward to the technical stuff?
Arrow?
I know the next two are going to be tricky. I think Croatia it will play into my hands a bit better. It seems like I'm good with the rear-wheel drive stuff, and then I'm half decent on tarmac now. It's crazy. But the next two, especially Portugal, is going to be tough for me. And then next week, in those cars as well, is going to be a bit tricky. So I was kind of chasing the result today because I knew maybe we do great in the next two rallies, but I knew there was a really strong opportunity that I was going to start dropping some positions tomorrow or next week. So definitely going to have to put some work in. I don't know Pacifico very well either, so I'll have to put some work in and see if we can learn the problem areas at least, and then just try and hang on for Portugal, because that's going to be a wild one.
Portugal's going to be wild. I agree. I like the next two rallies a lot. They're like two of my favorites. So I'm feeling great. I'm excited, especially Pacifico next week. I love Pacifico. And with these cars, bro, the 2012s, the 2016s are hilariousness. So yeah, I'm stoked for it personally.
Over to TK.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I wasn't sure if you were going to ask any more questions there, but I think we'll just well, we'll ask you maybe your favourite and your least favourite. We'll ask for just in a few words, highlight and low light of the rally overall. We'll start with Aerotech. I started with Punji last time. Sorry, I appreciate you're editing a photo, but just
It's okay. I can stop what I'm doing.
He's always taking photos.
Art has no
Uh,
time.
I mean, like, where do I start? I mean, I did have my spin, but it wasn't because I like forgot something or had an issue with my driving. I literally had. I remember the corner. It's 3 Titans and there's a bunch of bales on the outside, and I just got away with it. And I was like, "Aha! I avoided it," and then I didn't hear right over jump, and I landed in like where it's all jagged and bumpy, and just ripped the wheel to the right and spun the car out and like bounced off a tree. So like I'm annoyed by that, but I lost 10 seconds on a 2-minute stage. If there's ever a stage to screw up, that's the stage to screw up. The highlights, again, my first ever top 10 stage time in Crater Series ever. My first top 20 power stage, my first top 20 finish. This is my best rally ever so far. If we stay here, Izza, looking at you. But to see like me boxing with like Kamikaze and Ryan and Punju and Cephalosis on stages, I said the same thing in my chat. I don't think I could say I'm learning how to rally anymore. I don't have that crutch anymore. This was a dream rally. I really hope that we can continue this for the rest of the season. But even if it all goes Pete Tong from here on out, I can look back at the last 4 rallies and specifically this one as a super big bright point. This was awesome. I had a really great time today.
Yeah, I think for me, my low light, honestly, obviously I flipped at one point, so that kind of sucked. But I think my low light actually was on that final stage, power stage. I just saw it on my replay. I was flying to that power stage. I said, caution to the wind. I'm going to go as hard as I possibly can. I was whipping. And in the asphalty stuff, I'm never super confident on these cars when it's gravel tires. It just throws me off so much. And I'm coming through one of the final hairpins to get out of the asphalt. I'm like, oh, yes, I'm almost out of it. I go a little bit too tight, and I just tap a bale, and it spins me around. And that took me out of power stage points. I think I could have beaten Aerotech on that power stage. I could have gone like maybe 8 seconds off the leader on that one, if not faster. I was flying. So I'm a little mad at myself for that one. Definitely threw a couple points there. But, I mean, overall, I think I did a good job to come back for some silly mistakes. And I drove it hard, drove it as intense as I possibly could, my way of doing it. And it was a good run. Overall, a really fun time.
Fantastic stuff. Chaps, it's been a pleasure having you both in, having a chat, and of course, watching you guys rally over the last couple of hours. It's been fantastic as always, and congratulations to the both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kettles.
You actually got one final word. You got me there. I've had several names over broadcast. If you are just new and catching up, we've had Timmy Kettles, Gandalf. We're now the BFG. It's all fun and fair. Isa just remains Isa Musing. He's that way. I always point the wrong way as well. But yeah, Big Strong John just always remains one singular name. But speaking of names, Isa, where can they check you out on social media if they want to do so just a little bit more so?
Oh, on a random username, definitely not as amusing. Yeah. Maybe that one down there. I don't know. It might still be up if I haven't published any videos where there's too much, I don't know, tree hugging or whatever to be banned from YouTube, I guess, or even Instagram. I saw a funny incident where there was one where there was too much crash sort of like damage on a Wreckfest video, and for some reason it was flagged for some sort of sensitive content. So there you go. You don't know what can happen on the content creating platforms, but. Yeah, it's been one of those rallies, hasn't it? With a little bit of just thrills and spills, and somehow everybody seemed to make the same amount of mistakes. So the leaderboard, which we expected to be a little bit jumbled up, actually ended up being sort of in the way they are in the standings at the moment. So the gaps will increase a little bit. However, as we said before, the second half of the season is going to be very technical, difficult rallies. So that leaderboard will change, and will change very fast.
Certainly will do indeed. A whole other kettle of fish if you want to use that terminology. Checking about social medias up above our heads are all the links for the Creator Series socials: Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. They're all at F1 Creator Series. And of course, we're watching tonight on the new YouTube for WRC Creator Series. But of course, we've got one for F1 as well. And Twitch, where I think the major majority of people will be watching at Creator Series as well. Do go drop all of them a follow, like, and subscribe, and all the usual gubbins. For myself, I'm at They Call Me TK on pretty much every single social media. Our wonderful producer behind the scenes, who hates me shouting him out, is at Gareth Allen TV. And on an evening that has seen Aerotech take his first top 10 in a considerable amount of time, we wait for one Isa Musing to take his run and potentially dislodge him from that slot. But on that bombshell, folks, it's time to end. Good night.